That festive music means it's time for the gang of three amigos right now down to dos.
Yeah.
So good morning, Kim Weaver.
Good morning, Brother Johnny B. Yeah.
And good morning, everyone. Super Talk TV is streaming. It's live. I feel like a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest this morning. Definitely.
Brother Mason just texted me.
Oh, yeah?
Hey, he's over there at Carjack Corner.
Oh, is he?
He'll be here momentarily if
I
he
hope
makes
so.
it through the thieves.
Yeah, no one.
If he survives the carjacking. Because that red light makes you sit there for 15 minutes before it changes.
Oh, I know. And this morning, because we're noted for, all of us on this show are noted for peeking around corners and just running that light.
Yeah.
I did that this morning. I think a Metro policeman saw me.
I got pulled over by a Metro policeman doing that.
Did you?
And he gave me a break.
Well, see, I think this gentleman was looking for me because I think I got to the station faster than he could get to me.
Oh.
And I saw him creep by the station. Then he creeped by the other.
Brother Johnny B.
Yeah, and usually I will wait. But this morning I had a lot to do, so well, when I say I had a lot to do, I really had to use the restroom.
Yeah, that takes precedence over everything right there.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So yesterday, because my wife and I, we are big fans of the movie Wild Hogs. Now, it's not a film that's going to be one of your top five. But for me, I like it because I love weekend warriors that want to be bikers.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
It is entertaining, and all the actors in it are really good, and there's a lot of great writing in this flick. But it was hitting me, not totally, but the William H. Macy character, which name is Dudley.
Yeah.
Dudley reminds me a lot in places of Dan Mandis. And some took umbrage with me for saying that. A lot of Dan Mandis fans. I don't mean it in a bad way.
Right.
But just tell me if this doesn't sound like Dan Mandis. Now, this is Dudley going up to a very attractive girl who makes chili, because they have this chili cook-off in this small town called Madrid. And Dudley approaches this girl, and he's very shy around girls.
Yeah.
So, can you help me out here? See if this doesn't sound like Dan.
All right.
So,
Excuse me?
never mind.
So you like chili?
Oh, yeah. Not the hot stuff. Would you put a nice mild turkey chili in front of me? Oh, yeah. I'm gonna eat it.
That's too bad because I wanted you to try mine, but it's pretty hot.
No, I'll try it. I like your kind of hot. In your chili. The chili hot. Food hot.
Okay, be sure you can handle it.
Handle it. I'm a biker.
He eats the chili.
Smooth. Little spice.
It's a little hotter as it sits in your throat there. You okay? I understand.
Mother of God, I swallowed hot lava!
Mother of God, I've swallowed hot lava.
Did it not sound like
Yes.
our buddy? Dan?
Turkey chili.
Yeah, I like a good turkey chili.
I like good turkey chili. Smooth. Yeah.
I mean,
I can see Brother Dan Mandis doing that.
we were at home, and I mean, I was on the floor rolling because I hadn't seen the movie in a while.
Yeah.
And I was telling my wife, "That's Dan.
Yeah.
Dan Mandis. The John Travolta character is Murphy."
Yeah. I'm going to have to, I'm sad to say I've never seen this movie, but that clip right there, I'm going to watch it.
I'm telling you, it's a very good ensemble movie. It's silly, it's goofy, but I really love the movie, and now I even love it more.
A hot chick who cooks hot chili. Turkey. I like turkey.
I like a good
I like
turkey.
good turkey chili. A good turkey chili.
I mean, could you not see
Oh, yes.
our buddy Dan Mandis?
Yeah, turkey's not as fattening. I think.
And it's it's pretty good. It goes down smooth.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, look who's come in.
It's Brother Mason.
His car survives.
Brother Mason has survived.
Well, dude, you just sit back, take it easy.
Get yourself settled
Don't
there, Brother
worry
Mason.
about just get settled. We'll handle this part of it, and then once we go to break. You okay? How's the car?
It's working.
Is it working?
All right.
Man, I'm really sorry because that stinks on first thing in the morning.
Sure does, man.
So he's going to get ready, and I'm not going to make him hurry.
I've been there and done that.
Oh, he's going into the ball. Look at there.
I don't know, Brother Mason, boy, taking over the chair.
Oh, my man.
It's not necessarily because of that, but I think I should defend myself a little bit here.
Well, we were trying to give you a good story here.
Well, I appreciate it. What you've been saying.
Well, we just said this happens. I mean, when we work
Yeah.
this kind of shift, it's not like we have somebody overnight that can handle everything if somebody
hold
gets
the board
sick.
down and
Yeah. So luckily, I know how to. Because if you had any of the other guys, now Chris Hand would be able to do this. But if you would have had Dan Mandis or
I would love to see Dan get behind the board and
or Murphy.
it's a spread of buttons there. It's a spread of buttons. I think that's all he
I don't
would
know what I'm supposed to do here.
I'd be like Larry Moe and Curly in there. Whenever they walk into a room and see buttons and levers, they just start pulling and pushing.
Yeah,
That's what I'd have done.
I feel like he knows which one's his mic and which one's maybe the guest mic.
Yeah, he would know
And
that.
that'd be good.
But other than that, they'd be lost. And I always love people that are new, that first come in here to be trained, because the greatest was Phil Valentine's son.
Oh, goodness.
Because he came in here, he stayed here maybe 5 minutes.
So that was it.
And he said, I just remember, I'll be right back. And I remember asking Phil, I said, is he coming back? And he said, I doubt it.
He said, I just remembered.
I just remembered I have to be somewhere. I'll be right back.
Just remembered I got computer games at home. I'm going to take care of that instead.
I just remembered I don't like this. I'm going to go do something else.
Well, I had the same kind of feeling when I first went to work with Phil, because
really?
I did not want to do this. I didn't want to do this at all. My goal, because I've been on the morning show with him and Terry Hopkins, my goal was that I wanted to be part of a morning show ensemble somewhere. I didn't want to produce necessarily. And so they talked me into it. And they did a great job, because it was, you're not going to be so much a producer. I mean, you'll be doing that job, but you'll be much more than that. And they really built it up big to me until they told me the salary. And
Yeah.
then it hit me. Well, it's,
How does $4 an hour sound?
Yeah.
It wasn't even that, Mason. But anyway, it was pretty sad. But it's good to have you here with us. And we'll be getting the show underway. In fact, it's already underway.
I was getting ready to say, Brother Johnny B, we've been at it for about 44 minutes.
Yeah, we have.
Just a heads up here.
But anyway, I wanted to pass this along because Ken yesterday he had sent me a text, got me all excited, saying that Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses is going to be playing bass for AC/DC
Yeah.
on their European tour. Well, once we got started with the Three Amigos yesterday morning, Ken learned that it was an old story.
That was an old story.
And
Old news.
Apparently, it was fake news.
It's fake news.
It's fake news. Fake news. So anyway, AC/DC, they have announced who their drummer and bassist are going to be. So Phil Rudd's still not with them. I haven't heard an explanation why Phil's not there, other than it may be he can't travel because he tried to bump off somebody in his in his organization.
He might have an ankle bracelet.
Yeah, he might have an ankle bracelet. Can't leave the mansion. And if you've seen him lately, he looks a little rough. He looks like my uncle, my old uncle that had false teeth. That's kind of the way Phil looks these days. He looks pretty rough. So I don't know if those are the reasons or whatever reason. But anyway, they're going to be joined by Jane's Addiction bassist Chris Chaney, and a guy that played with them at Power Trip Festival in California, Matt Logg, who was a part of Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, which is a great band, by the way. Yeah, which Tom Petty's old guitar player.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great addition.
That's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they've announced European tour. but no announcement yet of anything statewide. So that's going to be interesting.
I'm typing it in right now.
Are you now?
Is AC/DC coming to Nashville in 2024? AC/DC Nashville tickets live tour in 2024. Oh, come on now. Is this going to be one of those phishing sites that if I click on this?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It could be. Could be.
It might be.
Yeah. I might see if I can get one of my neighbors to buy those tickets and see if they actually come in the mail. or if you get the receipt on the phone.
Or as I like Blackberry Smoke because on their website they warn you that if you use StubHub or any of these other ticket locations,
yeah,
they say you may not want to do that. I forget how they put it, but it said they're a little flaky, and they will charge you out the yin yang.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
This website says AC/DC Nashville tickets. Then underneath in small letters, not an official website.
Oh, well, that's
but a big box that says buy tickets.
Buy tickets now.
Okay,
sure.
I'm gonna get my AC/DC tickets.
Well, we had some sad news, and I really did like. I liked the band The Raspberries. I thought they had some good tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Good power chord rock and roll. I'd play you some, but it's radio in the 21st century. And due to that, and due to the, a lot of money that they would have to pay.
Mr. Old Copyright's a little
yes,
controlling right now.
Oh, very much so. That's why, I miss the days of putting together bumper tunes for talk show and all that, because that was the fun part. I loved doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And people loved it too. And so I loved doing it, but those days are sadly gone.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Eric Carmen, the former lead vocalist of the Raspberries, also he had a lot of solo hits like All By Myself.
Yeah.
Not my favorite tune. But unfortunately, he has died. He was 74 years old.
Yeah.
And according to a post on his website, it says with tremendous sadness that we share the heartbreaking news of the passing of Eric Carmen. Said a sweet, loving, and talented Eric passed away in his sleep. Well, that's how I'd like to go.
Yeah, if you're going to do it,
Right
in
the
your
middle
sleep,
of a dream.
brother.
And hopefully a good dream.
Yeah, hopefully.
That was very interesting. My wife, the other morning, I woke her up. I know I'm changing the subject, but it's about sleeping and dreaming. But I woke her up the other morning, and she goes, I'm trying to paint this. Shh. I went, okay. I said, what are you painting? This wall. And you're bothering me. Well, what color are you painting it? And I guess she woke up at that point. She went, I don't know. So we had a good laugh over that. Well, apparently yesterday I sacked out in a very long nap on the couch. And she said, so she put on a Hallmark movie. And she was watching this movie and she said, all of a sudden, I'm sleeping, but all of a sudden I just blurred out, yeah, I know I'm right.
Sounds like you really stuck it to him.
Yeah, I did.
Brother Johnny B was getting the man.
I was right.
Telling the man.
But anyway, we'll go back to Eric here. He was born in Cleveland, Ohio. He rose to fame as the front man for, of course, the Raspberries.
Yeah.
And they were a lot of times compared to the Beatles because of the way they dressed and their tidy haircuts, I dare say. But then he went solo, and if you remember the song Hungry Eyes, that was in
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing,
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Everybody
Big hit in the
that.
80s, man.
Oh, man, we played it all the time at Star 106.
Star 106,
That's
Eric
right.
Carmen.
He's a first of 5 million in a row with no interruptions, no rap, no hard rock.
Yeah.
Super.
Mason, do your DJ voice, dude.
I don't got a good one.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
just
you
do it.
We've heard you.
Just do it. Pretend you're playing one of your favorite songs.
Yeah, come on, baby.
Now that I'm on the spot, I can't.
Yeah, it's
can't even
scaring
get
you.
the
isn't it?
zone.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll look away from it.
Yeah,
let me
because that's
cover my eyes.
See, that's
Let me
like
cover the
radio,
camera
man.
here.
I mean, you just pretend nobody can see you, but of course, in these days and times, people
Everybody
can
can
see
see
us.
us.
Everybody's, in fact, I hate to tell you, Super Talk TV's on.
Oh, hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody, there's Mace.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Well, Mom and Dad.
Yes, sir.
Kicking it off on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ooh,
there you go. Sound like album oriented rock.
Or that could be a love song's voice.
Yeah,
right
it could be. Late at night with Mason.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. This tune goes out to Rachel, who's wanting to tell Alex that.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
over.
baby, I'm thinking about you. I've got hungry eyes.
Yeah.
Here's Eric Carmen,
Yeah.
the big star.
That's pretty good.
Mason Dixon.
Yeah, Mason Dixon.
Mason Dixon on
That's
Super
what-
Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's what I would name him right there.
Yep.
If it were a, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think I need to put it in for a name change here.
Yeah, I think you should. Mason Dixon, baby.
And if you get your own show, since we came up with it, you have to play an AC/DC song right before the top of the hour.
That's
every
fine with
hour.
me anyways. I am perfectly okay with that.
So anyway, folks probably want to know what happened with the car this morning.
I think it was a battery issue. So now it's a newer battery, so
Yeah.
it should be working just fine. And I
Well,
got
yeah.
up this morning, it just did a nice little click sound, and that's all I was getting out of my car. So I was like, oh. So I had to, it's under my passenger seat of all places. It's not in the main hub, like in the front of your car.
Wow.
It's a Jeep Grand Cherokee. So I
Oh,
had to-
yes.
I
Yeah.
had to move my seat, the passenger seat forward, pull off the cap on there, and start messing with stuff. And I found my tools, was able to get the connections off there because I was like, maybe it's just faulty there. And pulled those on and off. Tried it again, nothing. Opened up the hood just to check around to see if I could find anything that might be messing with it. And I finally just gave up and was like, I'm one last push before I tear everything apart here. And it finally turned on right around when Ken was calling me. So
All right.
Wow.
it was perfect timing. I was able to get on the road and get over here.
Well, very cool,
All
man.
right, Brother Mason. Glad to have you, buddy.
Yes,
glad
we
to
are.
be
You have
here.
no idea how much. It's very.
Thank you for bearing with me this
Oh, that's no problem. It's no problem. But we soldiered through it. Appreciated you coming in for Three Amigos.
Absolutely.
But now it's 5:52 on this Tuesday morning. Ken Weaver, what's coming up at 6 o'clock?
Al will tell you about the person Metro Police are looking for a sexual assault in a popular park coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Brother Ken. We'll be talking about the big tax hike, the big tax bill that our President Joe Biden has kindly thrust upon us.
Taxing Biden.
Oh, baby. The Lion King himself. Anyway, we'll be back with all of that after 6 o'clock right here on Nashville's Morning News. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I swear to God, I'm here. I really am. It's 5:57. Johnny B sitting in for Dan Mandis on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Nashville's morning news. We've got some ideas of what could be wrong with Mason's car. We'll cover that in the next hour, along with Joe Biden's big tax hike. We'll get into that in more detail and have some sound for you as well. It's 5:57. Good morning to you. Thanks for flying with us on Nashville's morning news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories this Tuesday morning. Tracking the potential for strong, possibly damaging storms later in the week. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now, Metro Police say they're looking for a suspect who sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy at a park last Thursday. Police say the boy told them he had walked to Seven Oaks Park from his home. 15 minutes there, he says a man in his 50s grabbed him by the arm and dragged him into the woods and assaulted him. Metro Police say this suspect left the area in a gray 2000s model Honda Civic sedan after noticing other people in the area. Metro Nashville Police searching for a college student who vanished on a trip with friends on Broadway. 22-year-old Riley Strain's parents drove here from Missouri once they learned he was missing. They says he disappeared Friday night after being asked to leave Luke Bryan's bar.
They started going through all the fraternity brothers' rooms. No one had him. So at that point, they called us.
We talk every day, multiple times a day. And this is the longest I've ever gone without talking to him.
They say Riley's very identifiable. He's 6'7", 155 to 160 pounds, blonde hair and blue eyes. Metro Police say they searched the area where Riley went missing, including by helicopter along the banks of the Cumberland River. Right now at the state capitol, a bill to eliminate taxes on groceries is advancing in the General Assembly. Now, it won't touch what the state taxes you for groceries, which is about 4%, but it does prevent local government from raising taxes on groceries. In fact, it gets rid of it. The sponsors of the bill say corporate taxes would replace whatever revenue is lost. This bill is up for debate today in the Senate Finance, Ways and Means Revenue Subcommittee. Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
Stock futures were higher overnight with a new look at the economy due out this morning. The Dow opened the week climbing 47 points and closing at 38,769. The Nasdaq gave up 0.4%. The S&P finished slightly lower. Investors again are closely watching the February Consumer Price Index, which is expected to show inflation running at a little over 3% compared to last year. The uptick in January CPI figure rattled the markets. Federal investigators who completed a 6-week audit of the Boeing company found what they characterize as dozens of problems at facilities involved in production of the 737 MAX jetliner. That probe came after a door panel flew off an Alaska Airlines plane in January. And expect a little more privacy during your next short-term rental. Airbnb is set to ban indoor security cameras in the listings on its site. The new rule goes into effect at the end of April. Doorbell cameras and noise monitors will still be allowed.
All right, checking futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures are up 3, S&P up 15, and NASDAQ futures up 95. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, good morning. It is 6:08. It is Tuesday morning on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis on a cruise this week. He will be back Monday. He'll tell you all about the cruise and everything will get back to normal then. You got Johnny B sitting in for him along with Mason Fleming and Ken Weaver. It's 6:08, and of course, you can watch us on Super Talk TV. You can check us out on Facebook Live, Twitch, the X, also known as Twitter, and YouTube, as well as Supertalk 99.7, WTN.com. And, of course, you can get involved with the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-9986. It's been very busy after our last three amigos, and we must cover some of the things that folks they're writing to us about everything we covered. If you just got here, Mason had some car trouble this morning and made it in. He made it in. That's all that matters here.
I am here.
He is here. And but this is some super texters, Mason. We have Philip. He said, I got fired for having poor transportation once. I told them I was in the process of upgrading. It would take a couple of months before I could afford it. They initially said no problem. Well, they could only handle my tardiness for 3 months. So tell Mason he's only got 3 months. Laugh out loud. Okay.
It's like if I got 3 months, I think I should be okay. Hopefully it doesn't take that long to get things working again.
I don't think it'll take that long. Dave says check your alternator. That could be why it may not be your battery.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not that because it's not crazy expensive, but it's something more expensive than I want to deal with right now.
And $80.99. This would not be good. The starter. It could be a starter, which yeah. Yeah,
let's hope the wrench hitting that I did to the battery and whatever helps keep it moving for the rest of the day. That's what I'm hoping for.
There you go. Now, some people too want to weigh in on because I was talking about talking in your sleep. My wife, of course, talked in her sleep one morning. Well, yesterday, as I was napping, she claimed that she was watching a Hallmark movie because that puts me to sleep. And so I was sleeping through this movie, and she said, all of a sudden, I blurted out, I know I'm right. Well, somebody just, what was it? Let me see. Oh, 2528 says, if you're talking in your sleep, don't cheat on her, Johnny. Well, trust me, there's no danger in that because I don't cheat on her. And frankly, if you're watching Super Talk TV, who wants this besides her? And then someone else added in because we were talking about dying in your sleep because I've always wanted to either go quickly or die in my sleep. This is what 5019 says. Some believe if you die in your sleep, your soul is lost and doesn't know where to go. Huh.
Interesting.
I've also heard that about people that die instantly, that they're kind of wandering aimlessly.
It's so instant that your mind is still kind of connected to it maybe, and you're just kind of like trying to figure things out. Or I don't know. That's interesting.
So anyway, 2528, just joking, man. Okay, yeah, I got it. Oh, what's this? 9431. It ain't got no gas in it.
It's got gas.
It's got gas, man. Okay, now this is what...
Some mustard on them biscuits. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, kid. That was great. Kevin writes in, says, if you hit the starter and started, then it sounds like you have a bad starter. Solenoid.
Yeah.
So that could be it. 8602, I have a Jeep and had to replace the starter and alternator at the same time.
Goodness.
Ooh, that's a dangerous not a dangerous combo, but that's
expensive
to the bank account.
It's painful.
For a radio man, that's dangerous right there. That's called money, money, money. Long for the old days when we used to have trade outs. My dad was the king of the trade outs. He would do that for employees, and that's why they loved him so much because he would do trade outs. That was back in his Kansas days. If you worked for him in this state, it wasn't as nice. Sorry about that. It's 6:12, and it's time to get to serious stuff. And Joe Biden is really dealing us some serious stuff. Of course, yesterday he unveiled his big $7.3 trillion spending wish list. That is much an election year pitch to voters, one that slams Republicans and former President Donald Trump by name, as it is a policy proposal. They say the price tag of this proposed budget is yet another reminder this administration's insatiable appetite for reckless spending and the Democrats' disregard for fiscal responsibility. This thing doesn't just miss the mark. It's a roadmap to accelerate America's decline. That's according to House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. It's been widely reported that Biden wants to raise $5.5 trillion in tax on corporations and high earners during the next decade. According to the 2025 budget, that would help cut the federal deficit, according to him, and pay for new programs to assist those who make less, cope with high housing and also child care costs, according to the Associated Press. The thing about this is that the president is trying to fix a problem that he created. It is like what I was saying, that it's like a fireman showing up to a fire that he started and added with a can of gasoline. And that's basically what he's doing. And hardworking Americans like ourselves were struggling with this inflation. And, of course, he blames shrinkflation on the evil corporations. But the whole reason for shrinkflation is what? It's Joe Biden. It's his policies. Now, the House Republican Conference has taken action to steer the nation back to a path of fiscal sanity. They claim that their efforts to rein in this runaway spending spree from last year's budget has already yielded results, lowering projected deficits by $2.6 trillion over the next decade. The House's budget plan for the next fiscal year preceding the president's proposal reflects the values of hardworking Americans who know that in tough economic times, fiscal discipline is non-negotiable. The problem is Biden and the Democrats don't understand that. They still think they've got a credit card and they still want to add to it. And we have more feedback from others about how this is insanity and about how much Joe Biden lies. That's coming up next at 6:15. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. Thank you much, Jack. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. Sunshine with a high of 71. It's going to get even better for Wednesday and Thursday. High on Wednesday, 75. Thursday, we're going to be near 80 degrees before some strong storms move in on Friday. 36 degrees right now on Nashville's Music Row, where we're talking about Joe Biden's big tax budget plan. Although he's released this proposed 2025 budget, Congress has yet to pass the full funding for federal agencies for the current fiscal year. So we've got time, hopefully, to stop this. Former President Donald Trump's campaign said yesterday that this proposal to hike the corporate tax rate is going to result in the loss of 1 million jobs. Like I said, his budget is $7.3 trillion, and you will see this happen. You will see a lot of people lose their jobs if this does get passed. Representative Byron Donalds, Republican from Florida, calls it hypocrisy for President Joe Biden to purport that he saved the United States from the economic crisis that occurred under his watch. He appeared on Newsmax's Rob Schmidt tonight, and he tore into Biden. This is exactly what he told him last night about Biden saving the economy. I need some sound there. Okay, let's try again.
Let me talk about this whole thing about him saying he cut $1 trillion. He didn't cut anything. COVID spending ended. It was scheduled to end. By the way, Donald Trump said it to end, and it ended. We would have actually cut almost $1.5 trillion in spending, but Joe Biden didn't want to leave it alone. He wanted his own spending plan. So he created this American non-rescue plan, and it destroyed our country's economy and unleashed an inflation that has ravaged so many families in our country. So when you look at his budget that comes out today, this man's not serious. He's not to be trusted. He's not to be listened to. He is a buffoon. He's the worst president the country has ever had, which is why The House Republicans, we're not looking at his budget. That is a document that he just wants to throw out there. We're moving on and doing our own thing when it comes to federal spending. I would call on my colleagues, especially Republican leadership in House and Senate. We have to cut spending. We cannot continue at these high levels. The country cannot survive it.
Boy, very true. Very true. Byron Donald. You know, that's what we need. We need common sense. And we're not getting it. That's the whole problem. That's the whole problem with Joe Biden and his administration. They have no common sense whatsoever. I think Representative Andy Biggs, the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, I think that he nailed it more so about Joe Biden, that he just can't be trusted.
Well, he's not going to quite tell the truth. You remember in the State of the Union, he said how great the economy is. And oddly enough, on the very day that he was giving the State of the Union, the federal government came out with a study saying that we had the highest number of layoffs in 15 years in the month of February. So it's not going the right direction for him there. And, you know, I just filled my car up with gas over the weekend, and I paid more than I paid last year at this time. And I'll tell you what, the price of hamburger, I go to shopping with my wife on the weekends, and I'll tell you what, when you see this, you know that the pocketbook issue that the American people face is real, and they're not going to buy gaslighting. And I just don't think that he gets it, and I don't think that his handlers get it, because that's one of the main things. I mean, it's really two issues right now, the border and the economy, and he's failing terribly on both of those.
Yes, he is. And that's the problem. When you go to the grocery store right now, we've said it ad nauseum, and we all know it. We're spending far more at the grocery store. We're spending far more at the gas station, because basically, too, he tried to force electric cars on us, made it a mandate to get rid of gas-powered cars, when the technology is just not there for electric vehicles. Right now, I'm not for electric vehicles because the technology is just not there. It was proven during the winter when we hit some very, very low temperatures, when it was getting down to near zero. You had these cars, they were unable to start. They had real problems during cold weather. There's a lot of problems with electric cars. We're just not ready to get off gas-powered automobiles right yet. I am one that would love to see cleaner energy. I would like to see cars run on that, but we've got to get to the point where it's feasible for working Americans to be able to, A, afford these automobiles, and B, to be able to keep them running. Because a lot of us commute, and that's the big thing, too, about Nashville, the Nashville area, this area, Middle Tennessee. This area is more so where we all live out in bedroom communities. And a lot of us travel. We can be in the car anywhere from 30 to 40, sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours. A lot of you live in the Shelville area, or you live further away like that, because you want to escape the big city problems that Nashville is facing right now, especially with crime. And if you have an electric car, that's just not going to be feasible. That's like they're trying to get us to get with mass transit. Mass transit is never going to be a big deal here in Middle Tennessee. It's just not, because too many people want their own automobiles. They want their own, because a lot of us, too, we have different schedules. Do you think I'm going to be able to use mass transit at 3 o'clock in the morning? How many people are going to be on that? And where's it going to let me off at? It's not going to be usable, basically. So all the things that Biden is trying to do, all this money that he is spending, is unbelievable and is just reckless spending. We need to get our spending under control. And with the Democrats, they act like it's a credit card that has a limit that is boundless. They're like college kids given a credit card, and when they hit the mark where they can't use it anymore, they look at mommy and daddy and go, "You didn't put enough in. We need more." It's 6:22. It's Nashville's Morning News. Johnny B sitting in for Dan Mandis this morning. Ken Weaver, what's coming up at 6:30?
Well, we'll tell you more about that sexual assault in a popular Nashville park. A Catholic high school president's in trouble for what he allegedly did at some Nashville bars. The parents of a Missouri college student who has gone missing while on a trip with friends to Lower Broad are desperate to find him. Gasoline prices going in the wrong direction. These stories and more at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken. It is Nashville's Morning News, 6:23. If you'd like to get involved, you can with the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-9986. Looks like minority voters are starting to swing right. We'll have that story coming up at 6:35 on Nashville's Morning News, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for some strong storms this week. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Nashville, the search is on for a suspect who sexually assaulted a teenager in a popular park. Channel 4 went there. Seven Oaks Park says people are on edge.
Shocked, completely shocked, because this park gets a lot of people who play here, even at that time of night.
Now, Metro Police looking for a white man in his 50s with freckles and crooked teeth, last seen driving away in a gray 2000s Honda Civic sedan. A Catholic high school president is in trouble with the law in Nashville. Metro Police were called to 550 Broadway Saturday night, where Marshall Heisdu was allegedly following women around in bars, making them uncomfortable. He was told to leave several times, but kept coming back, even allegedly changing his clothes at one point to try to hide. Heisdu's been booked on trespassing, public intoxication, disorderly conduct charges. He's been placed on administrative leave from the private school he runs in Cincinnati, Ohio. Parents of a Missouri college student who has gone missing while on a trip with friends to Lower Broad are desperately looking for him.
We're here, buddy.
We've got you, bud. We'll do anything. Anything. Please.
Channel 4 says 22-year-old Riley Strain was told to leave Luke Bryan's bar, that is, on Friday night. His fraternity brothers searched for him, but they couldn't find him. Metro Police even searched with a helicopter along the Cumberland River on Monday. And money news, Alex Stone says gasoline prices keep going up.
Continuing an upward march, as is typical this time of the year, moving toward spring break. The price of regular unleaded went up another 3 cents in the past week to $3.38 a gallon, according to the Energy Department. The cheapest gas remains along the Gulf Coast at $2.95 a gallon. The most expensive is in California at $4.70 a gallon on average for regular unleaded.
Right now, we're paying $3.10 per gallon on average in Middle Tennessee, according to Gas Buddy. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
6:37. It's Tuesday morning. It's Nashville's morning news, and Dan Mandis is on a cruise, not a Disney cruise, mind you. It's just a cruise. I don't know where. Dan didn't know either. But he'll be back on Monday. He'll surely have a lot of stories to tell you about the cruise and then probably the adventure trying to get to the ship, which sounded like it was quite harrowing. You can join us, of course, on Super Talk TV. You can find it on Facebook Live, Twitch, also on X, known as Twitter to a lot of people, and YouTube as well. That's what Ken and myself watch Super Talk TV on. You can also check us out at 997WTN.com as well. And if you want to get involved with us and corresponding with one another, you can use the Members Nutrition Super Text line at 615-737-9986. A lot of people are doing that this morning. Heard from a lot of folks, including a lot of old friends that have listened to us for years and years. Appreciate that. We were talking about the Joe Biden big tax hike that he's wanting to inflict on what he says the upper echelon, which will end up affecting all of us. But we did bring up electric cars, electric vehicles, because Joe has tried to force that on us. And according to 8868, TVA Power Grid can't handle electric vehicles. Very true. Also talking about mass transit and that, too. And 2307 writes in and says, I clean houses for a living, and I don't see myself using mass transit and hauling a vacuum cleaner and mops and rags and all this stuff on there at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Plus, I live out in the country. That's a lot of us that live in this area. A lot of us have chosen to live out in the country, and I can understand why. But this big tax bill that Joe Biden is trying to pass, this $7.3 trillion spending wish list that he has, I think is going to affect him in a way that he wasn't quite sure of. And that's causing a big change in the voter out there. Case in point, some of the most racially diverse places in the country, combined with a shift in heavily Hispanic parts of the country, are going now to Donald Trump. There are early hints that the conventional wisdom about race and party are being undercut. In fact, they said there's more evidence that Black and Hispanic Americans in particular are less hostile to the Republican Party and Trump than they used to be. So the question is, how much is less? Specifically for Democrats that are looking forward to the big election coming up in November, about 8 months away from now. They said last month, Gallup released data showing how the two-party margin between Black and Hispanic Americans had shifted dramatically since 2020. In 2020, Black Americans were 66 points more likely to identify as Democrats than Republicans, and Hispanic Americans were 28 points more likely to do so. As of last year, those numbers were 47 points and 12 points, respectively. That's a shift to the right of 19 points among Black Americans and 16 points among Hispanics. The Financial Times' John Byrne Murdoch published an assessment that looked at this phenomenon more closely. He said among the patterns he noted was that Black Americans who identify as ideologically conservative, a group that used to vote Democrat anyway, they've shifted in recent years to vote more heavily Republican. I think there's a good example of that is that people are seeing before their very eyes how liberalism just does not work. There was a great example in radio with that. Remember Air America? Oh, yeah, that was going to be the talk radio wave for the left. It died. It died a death. No one would support it. The reason that I believe that liberal talk radio doesn't work, it doesn't hold water, because liberal policies just don't work. You're watching it in action right now. Look at what's happening in our country. Joe Biden's agenda is not working. We are in horrible financial straits. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs if this $7.3 trillion wish list comes true for Joe Biden. And then you're going to see exactly why it doesn't work. And I think that's why a lot of Hispanics, a lot of black voters are now waking up to the fact that the Democrat Party doesn't work for them. The Democrat Party basically works for the Democrat Party. And I know a lot of people call it the Democratic Party. It's the Democrat Party because there's nothing democratic about it. The Democrat Party has gone so far left and so crazy that there's no way anyone with any modicum of common sense could back them. Looking at the cooperative election study, expert found that since 2012, black conservatives went from mostly supporting Democrats to being more likely to support Republicans. In fact, there's a black gentleman that worked here. And we talked privately. And we were talking about Donald Trump. And of course, we were talking about some of the outlandish things he does. But he looked at me and in a quiet tone, he said, but you know, when he was in office, I did much better. And I know a lot of my brothers had a lot. They were working more and they had more money. And I said, man, that was all of us. I did the best I've ever done under Donald Trump. And I understand some folks' misgivings with some of the things he does. The name calling, I'm over that. I would hope he would get away from that. I also think Donald Trump could win handily if he would quit getting involved with the Oscars, with tweeting about Jimmy Kimmel. Nobody cares about that stuff. What we care about is the things you have done in your presidency that worked, that we'd like to get back. We don't care about the name calling. Some of it's funny, but right now is not the time for it. Now is the time for him to get the independence. And to do that, he's got to concentrate on everything that will work because it will make sense to the American people. It will make sense to any voter out there that does not like what's going on right now, and that includes the minority voters. It's 6:45. It's time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. Thank you much, Jack. It's going to be a beautiful day today. Sunny skies, high of 71. Tomorrow will be even better with a high of 75. We'll almost hit 80 on Thursday. We might even hit 80. So it's going to feel like spring. And then feeling really spring-like Friday with the heavy thunderstorms moving in, but we'll still be in the 70s for Friday. Right now, though, we got to put up with a little coldness. It's 35 degrees on Nashville's Music Row at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I was talking about Donald Trump, and I really want the guy to win. I really do. Now, there are things about Donald Trump that I've never been wild about. But that doesn't matter. What matters is I want him to do the great things that he has done during his presidency. And that's what he needs to concentrate on. If he wants to get elected, and like I said, I want him to win. And for those of you that get upset with me because I do criticize him at times, you've got to realize I'm trying to get the guy to win. And the only way to win is to win over those undecided voters out there. And I don't think getting involved with Jimmy Kimmel on the Oscars or name-calling people is going to help it. What's going to help Donald Trump? Show what you did during your presidency that worked, because you did a lot that worked, and it really made a difference in people's lives. It made a difference in my life. I made more money than I've made in my, well, not my lifetime, but in quite a long time. And I want that back because it's not happening now. And right now, all of us are struggling. We are having a hard time at the grocery store. We're having a hard time paying our bills. You look at your electric bill, it's high. Energy costs are high. Everything that Joe Biden has done has put us into this this inflation that we are experiencing. And it's not the evil corporations that caused shrinkflation. It's Joe Biden. It's his policies. They're hurting the United States of America. And for the life of me, all you liberal voters out there, I don't get you. I really don't anymore. Back in the 60s, you had it right. Don't trust the government. But nowadays, you want to be involved with the government. And you think the government is the answer. It is not the answer. Government is the problem. It's not the solution. And that's why Donald Trump looks good to a lot of voters right now, including me. One thing I like about Donald Trump is that he attacks the issues. He brings up the issues that are important to us. In fact, that's what got him elected in 2016. He was the first and probably the only candidate that ever got involved with illegal immigration and really tackled it head on. And look what's happening now. All the great policies he put into place have now been whittled away by Joe Biden, and now we have an invasion. That's what it is. And don't be discouraged by people calling you a racist if you talk about that, because that's their weapon. It's always been their weapon, and it's not racism. Because these very people that are talking about racism when it comes to illegal immigration, they say nothing about the children, the illegal immigrants that have children. These children are now in our country, but they're unaccounted for. And there are thousands of them. And Lord knows what's happening to them. And they never bring them up. They never talk about them. So next time somebody on the left calls you a racist, bring that up to them. Ask them about what's happening to these children, and you'll get silence. Because all the racist card, that's them throwing a gun at you because they don't have any more ammunition to debate you with. They're trying to stop you. And nobody wants to be labeled a racist. None of us do. And they know that. And that's why they are basically changing the vocabulary, the language. That's why Joe Biden's out there apologizing for saying illegal immigrant, when he should be apologizing to a mother who lost her daughter to an illegal immigrant, murdering her while she was just out for a jog. That's what needs to be dealt with. And never let them tell you you're a racist, because you're not. There is nothing good about illegal immigration. It's not safe for the immigrants crossing that are just coming here for a better life. There's less of them now that are doing that. The majority of them coming over now are not good people. They're just not. They have criminal backgrounds. Some have terrorist backgrounds. But they want to whistle past that. And all the Democrats are doing this for, all Joe Biden is doing, is trying to change the voter rolls. And as I just pointed out as we started this, it may backfire on him, because a lot of Hispanics, a lot of people that are coming over here from other countries are seeing that Joe Biden's policies don't work. And Donald Trump is going to resonate more with them than Joe Biden does. It's 6:51. What's coming up in the news at the top of the hour? Brother Ken Weaver.
Now, we're still getting information on that sexual assault in a popular park in Nashville. Metro Police have an active investigation going. That Missouri college student who's gone missing after a trip with friends to Lower Broad. There's a bill to eliminate grocery taxes advancing in the General Assembly. Your car may be recording your driving habits, driving up your insurance rates. Gasoline prices going in the wrong direction. These stories and more at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Ken. It's 6:52. It's Nashville's Morning News. Johnny B sitting in for Dan Mandis, who is on vacation, who is cruising, baby. It's not a Disney cruise. It's just a cruise, okay? He did make the ship. Coming up at 7:05, Nancy Mace. She's getting more backing from a lot of folks out there that are upset with George Stephanopoulos. We'll have that. Also, a lot of you that are getting into marijuana more so now, because of a lot of the gummies and all that. We've got some health news to tell you about that you may want to listen up for. That's all coming up in the 7 o'clock hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for strong, possibly damaging thunderstorms later in the week. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Metro Police say they have an active investigation. They're looking for a suspect who sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy at a park last Thursday. The boy told them he walked to Seven Oaks Park off of McGavick Pike from his home nearby. 15 minutes later, he says a man in his 50s grabbed him by the arm and dragged him into the woods and assaulted him. Metro Police say this suspect left the area in a 2000s model Honda Civic sedan after noticing other people in the area. Looks to be gray in color. This man's described as having freckles, crooked teeth. He was wearing a black ball cap, black zip-up jacket, blue shorts, a gray shirt, and gray and white tennis shoes at the time of the assault. And Metro Nashville police have another active investigation. They're searching for a college student who vanished on a trip with friends to Lower Broad. 22-year-old Riley Strain's parents drove here from Missouri. They say he disappeared Friday night after being asked to leave Luke Bryan's bar.
They started going through all the fraternity brothers' rooms. No one had him. So at that point, they called us.
We talk every day, multiple times a day. Oh my God, this is the longest I've ever gone without talking to him.
His parents say Riley is very identifiable. He's 6'7" tall, 155 to 160 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Metro Police say they've searched the area where Riley went missing, including by helicopter along the banks of the Cumberland River. Right now at the state capitol, a bill to eliminate taxes on groceries is advancing in the General Assembly. Now, this doesn't touch what the state taxes you for groceries, but it does get rid of taxes by cities and counties. The sponsors of the bill say corporate taxes would replace whatever revenue is lost. This bill's up for debate today in the Senate Finance, Ways and Means Revenue Subcommittee. Driver beware. Your car could be recording information about how you drive. Derek Dennis reports that's at least one automaker may be sharing that data.
The New York Times report that data clearinghouse LexisNexis is working with insurance companies, and their collaboration could drive your insurance rates higher. GM's OnStar service has a smart driver feature which tracks driver habits as a way to improve safety. GM confirmed to the Times that it shares select insights with LexisNexis and another data broker, but says the program is optional to customers and that drivers can unenroll at any time.
And there's not particularly good news about gasoline prices.
Oil analysts say as we get closer to spring break and then summer travel, expect prices to mostly just keep climbing. But in the past week, the price of regular unleaded went up 3 more cents to now a nationwide average of $3.38 a gallon. That's still 8 cents below the price Americans were paying a year ago at this time. The cheapest gas is along the Gulf Coast at $2.95 a gallon. The most expensive, as always, is in California at $4.70 a gallon on average for regular unleaded.
Right now, we're paying $3.10 per gallon on average in Middle Tennessee, according to Gas Buddy. Market Numbers Reports brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Looking at Dow futures, they're down 4, S&P up 13, NASDAQ futures up 89. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Good morning, 708. It is Nashville's morning news, and Dan Mandis is on a cruise. Not a Disney cruise, but just a cruise. We don't know where. Neither does he. But
as long as it's not near the Bermuda Triangle, I think we should be all right. Should be back on Monday.
I hope so. I hope he's not going there. Of course, you have Mason Fleming along with Ken Weaver and yours truly, Johnny B. We are here till 9 a.m. And then you get Chris Hand coming in at that time. Straight up 12 noon. It's a Libertarian Lunch with none other than Matt Murphy on Murphy's Show. And, of course, on your ride home, it's The Drive with Brian Wilson. It's Super Talk all day long, live and local. You can also catch us on Super Talk TV. You can find that on Facebook Live, Twitch, X, or Twitter, whatever you'd call it. YouTube as well, and of course 997WTN.com. Also, you can get involved with the Members Nutrition Super Text line at 615-737-9986. We check it periodically, and every now and then we answer you. Sometimes we even talk about what you put up there on the Super Text line with the adoring public out there. We're glad to have you with us this morning, and later on in the show, because earlier during the 5:30 Gang of Three Amigos, we played a clip from the movie called Wild Hogs. If you've never seen it, it's a funny movie. It's a buddy movie. But the character in there, I'm not saying the entire moment of the movie, not the entire movie, but there are points where the character Dudley, that's played by William H. Macy, reminds me a lot of Dan Mandis, and we will play a cut from that in the 8 o'clock hour sometime, and maybe in the 8:35 Gang of Four when Chris Hand joins us, because it does remind me a lot of Dan Mandis, this scene that I'm going to play for you. And it's quite funny. And a lot of people on the Super Text line were asking what movie. It's called Wild Hogs. It features John Travolta, Bill Macy, Martin Lawrence, and I'm leaving out one. Oh, yeah. How could I forget? And I forget his name right now, but Last Man Standing. Can't think of his name right off the bat. But anyway, it features all those guys, and it's a very funny movie. Things that are not funny is Nancy Mace and what she faced from none other than George Stephanopoulos on Sunday's show on ABC. He had her for an interview. And I'm going to need some sound here. This is the way it sounded that morning during that interview with George Stephanopoulos and Nancy Mace.
And you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it.
And she had some great points there. But what really bothered her, this was the opening question. And this from a guy who worked for the Clinton administration. Do we forget what happened with them when it came to women coming forward, claiming to be raped, claiming that he was inappropriate with them, and how the Clinton administration acted? But I digress. Nancy Mace was on Newsmax, and she talked about these tactics, saying it was disgusting as she found the response, that E. Jean Carroll's response was curious. But she came on Newsmax, and, well, this is what she had to say about that appearance and the aftermath.
But I had the courage to tell about my story of being raped. You could see me wince in that interview. Like, it was painful for me, and I just cannot believe it even today that he led with this. I didn't go on to talk about my rape, but that's what he led with for 7 out of 10 minutes yesterday. It was disgusting.
I couldn't believe he had the guts to do it after the things that he's said in defense of Bill Clinton, to actually make that move, especially with a case like this that, again, we don't know what happened. Trump says he never met the woman, but let's say that they did. I mean, she said that she invited him.
That's not what it was about. He was not convicted of rape. And the civil judgment was not about rape either. And I made that point twice on the show yesterday in Stephanopoulos just tonight. I think Stephanopoulos opened himself in ABC News up to a massive lawsuit, and I hope the president sues him.
So she's saying she hopes the president sues them. As I was saying yesterday, I don't understand why George Stephanopoulos is considered a journalist and how he got that job. And it's not just George. I mean, they also have Dana Perino. I'm of the mind that these people should not be journalists. They worked for presidents. They worked in politics. They had an agenda, and they still do. I want a journalist not to be transparent like that. I want the journalist to just cover the truth and not have an agenda like George Stephanopoulos does. But I'm glad they finally brought up, because I thought she would have been far more effective if she would have just come right back at him with the accusations that were labeled against Bill Clinton and George Stephanopoulos being his man to discredit these women. But, oh, my goodness, it's coming out, and Megyn Kelly and others have gone on X or Twitter and now are replying themselves. It's 7:15. We'll get to those next, but right now it's time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. I say it's time to check the roads from the Traffic Center. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jack. It looks like it's going to be beautiful today. Don't let this cold morning sway you. It's going to be sunny today with a high of 71. Tomorrow, 75. And on Thursday, we're going to get near 80. We might even top 80. I can't wait for that. But right now, you got to put up with 35 degrees. It is clear on Nashville's Music Row on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking about Representative Nancy Mace. She's a Republican out of South Carolina. And she, of course, appeared on George Stephanopoulos on his big ABC News show that's on Sunday. And, of course, the first question out of the box is that he wanted to know how she could support Donald Trump when he lost a civil case from E. Jean Carroll. Well, as I was pointing out, I wish, and I thought about this yesterday after the story, and I thought it would have been so great if she would have brought up what George did during the Clinton administration with all kinds of women. Well, leave it to Megyn Kelly. She's on X or Twitter, and she laid it out, ladies and gentlemen, and this is just part of it. It's very long, and some of it gets graphic, so I didn't include those, but you get the gist from what Megyn is saying here.
What a kind, sensitive man who clearly cares deeply about women and their sexual assault allegations. Thanks for being an ally, George. I see how concerned you are that victims might not come forward if they are publicly attacked by their rapist or his defenders. To be sure, that is a very real concern. It happens all the time, which you know, because you invented it. Remember? When you created a whole command center designed to smear Bill Clinton's sexual assault and rape accusers so you could elevate him right into the presidency. The attorney representing many of Bill's accusers, and there were many, George, Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Jennifer Flowers, to name just a few, said you and James Carville, at Hillary Clinton's direction, formed a so-called war room whose purpose was, quote, to destroy any woman that would challenge Bill Clinton. You know the war room. They made a whole movie about it.
George Stephanopoulos. I'm Director of Communications.
Bush was on the defensive. Another good night for Bill Clinton. 3 debates, 3 wins. I guarantee you that if you do this, you'll never work in Democratic politics again.
Woohoo!
Such a tough guy. This attorney points out that you don't like to talk about this particular behavior, George. Maybe that's why you skipped it in your discussion with Nancy Mace. But as you know, private detectives were hired. The women say they were threatened, and they were publicly shamed by you and your well-funded team. Did you worry then that this behavior might shame victims from coming forward? You admitted in your own memoir that Hillary Clinton told you about one accuser, quote, "We have to destroy her story." Did you object? Did you say, "That's shaming"? No. In fact, you later described yourself as Bill Clinton's, quote, "enabler." But sir, how could you have enabled and defended a man like this, accused by multiple women of sexual assault, rape, and harassment?
And she goes on, but it's very effective. And you can find that on X or Twitter under Megyn Kelly. And it's trending too, by the way. But that's one reason I think George Stephanopoulos has no business being called a journalist, because he's not. He never was. I think it's a joke. I think ABC News is a joke, to be quite honest, with their hard-hitting news and interviews with George Stephanopoulos and Michael Strahan. George Stephanopoulos and people of his ilk should not be considered journalists. They shouldn't get the job, to be quite honest, because they're political hacks. That's all they are. And everything Megyn Kelly said was spot on. But the best reply, or the best tweet of all this morning, comes from Juanita Broderick, the woman that did accuse Bill Clinton of raping her. She said, "You're not alone, Nancy. He did it to me, too, when he was Bill Clinton's mouthpiece." That's what I call a mic drop. 7:21, let's find out what's happening with the news at 7:30 with Ken Weaver.
Nashvillians on edge after a sexual assault in a popular park, and a private Catholic school president charged after what some women on Lower Broad say he was doing, and an active investigation in Nashville. Parents of a Missouri college student desperately searching for their son after he went missing while on a trip with friends to Lower Broad. And is your car spying on you? Raising your insurance rates? We'll tell you about it at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken. Appreciate it. And of course, the Super Text line is blowing up. 6837 said, "Please don't forget that they found OJ not guilty of murder, but they did find him liable monetarily. The Democrats and libs thought he was so wrong, too. How could he be liable if he was not guilty?" they said. And, of course, 2847 puts it this way, whether you agree with them or not, said Bill Clinton was a POS, which we know what that means. He said, so is Trump. And that's your feelings. And we let it out there. It's 7:22. It's Nashville's Morning News. Johnny B. in from Dan Mandis. We've got more illegal immigration news coming up at 7:35. Don't go away. A lot coming your way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says people who go to a particular park are on edge.
Shocked, completely shocked, because this park gets a lot of people who play here, even at that time of night.
Talking about Seven Oaks Park, Metro Police looking for a white man in his 50s for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy in a wooded area of Seven Oaks Park last Thursday. The man described as having freckles, crooked teeth, and driving away in a gray 2000s model Honda Civic sedan. A private Catholic school president from Ohio is accused of following women around bars, making them uncomfortable on Lower Broad. Channel 4 says police were called to 550 Broadway on March 9th, where security says 45-year-old James Marshall Heisdu was told to leave 6 times, but he kept coming back. He even changed his clothes one time to try to hide his appearance. Heisdu was released on bond. He's listed as the president of Cincinnati, Ohio's Archbishop Moeller High School on the school's website. And right now in Nashville, the parents of a Missouri college student desperately searching for their son. He went missing while on a trip with friends on Lower Broad.
We're here, buddy.
We've got you, bud. We'll do anything. Please.
22-year-old Riley Strain last seen at Luke Bryan's bar where he was asked to leave Friday night. He hasn't been seen since. And is your car spying on you, raising your interest rates, or rather insurance rates, I should say? A New York Times report shows cars made by General Motors that use the OnStar roadside assistance service may be sharing data about people's driving habits with a clearinghouse that partners with insurance companies. Nationwide, auto insurance rates are up 26% this year. That's 6 times faster than overall inflation. The increase is blamed on several factors, including the rising cost of car repairs. But now you can add another factor, the possibility of insurance companies tracking how you drive. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
7:37 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis on a cruise, so he's off this week. He will be back on Monday morning. Johnny B in his place, along with Ken Weaver and Mason Fleming. Mason made it in this morning. By gosh, the car may not have started first thing, but he made it in, and we're glad he's here, and we're glad you are here with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can check us out on Super Talk TV. You can even see Mason at times. And you can check it out at Facebook Live, Twitch, X, or if you want to call it Twitter, YouTube, and of course 997WTN.com. And you have the Members Nutrition Super Text line, 615-737-9986. You can listen to the station everywhere on the WTN app. There are so many apps. You can't get away from us. We're just like we're like a fungus. We're just growing and growing, but it's a good fungus. Let me tell you, we put the fun in fungus on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand is going to be in. Actually, he'll be in for the Gang of Four Amigos at 8:30, but his show starts at 9 at 12 noon. One of my favorite people on this planet, Matt Murphy. Murphy's show comes on at noon. And then your ride home, another good friend of mine, Mr. Brian Wilson, for The Drive. Brian is known as your friend and radio buddy. That's your FARB. I've been called your old friend and radio talent. Put that together, and that's what I am. Johnny B, glad to be with you. Beautiful day ahead of us. It's going to be around 71 degrees today. That'll be awesome. Well, the illegal immigration problem is not going away. It's gotten worse and worse. And in fact, yesterday morning, when we came on, I think we were at, 1975, I think is what it was. 1975. That's 1,975 crossings. Do you know where we're at this morning? About the same time. 2,416 illegal crossings today. That's according to FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. You can check them out at fair.us or fairus.org. And you can check that number daily, and it will alarm you because the number just counts up, counts up, counts up. Well, it's not gone unnoticed by a certain gentleman, a guy that we've talked to many times on this radio station, the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He was on Newsmax yesterday. His name's Brandon Judd, and he had this to say about Joe Biden and his handling of the illegal immigration problem.
To every single one of us is if...
What happened there? Let's try again. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
What really frustrates every single one of us is if we're not willing to define the problem, we're not going to come up with the solutions for the problem. And that's exactly what President Biden is doing right now. By walking that back, he is watering down what this problem actually is. And if he waters that down, he's not going to come up with the solutions. In our laws, it specifically says that people that cross our borders between the ports of entry are illegal aliens. So what he actually said during the State of the Union was correct. Now that he's walking it back, that's why we're inviting so many people to cross our borders illegally, because we're not willing to talk about what is actually going on. We're not willing to talk about the consequences, and the cartels are surviving off of this. That's why the cartels are able to go out and advertise their services around the world and convince people to put themselves in their hands to cross our borders illegally. It's ridiculous that President Biden is not willing to define this problem, and by not defining it, he's not going to come up with the solutions.
Well, and when Biden says he's helped the economy, he has helped a lot of coyotes and a lot of drug cartels. So way to go, Big Joe. Now, Brandon Judd has endorsed former President Donald Trump in this year's presidential election. And he said when Biden came in office, he reversed 97 of Trump's policies on the border. And he explained that's why the nation has had such a surge in illegal crossings. And looking at it now, we've gone over to it's 2,417. It's 2,417 crossings, illegal crossings today into our border. And the whole reason for that, we've talked about it, Joe Biden's just trying to get some new Democrat voters, and he's getting them. In fact, that's why he sent the National Guard down there, not to secure the border, but to speed this process along, to process these illegal immigrants, and I'm sure give them voter cards, voter identification cards. So that's what's going on. Judd also said his organization backed a recent bipartisan Senate immigration bill that Trump and Republicans sabotaged. He said the compromise proposal would have been absolutely better than what we currently have. For example, by removing the backed up judiciary from the process and raising the credible fear standard, which would have severely reduced the number of illegal immigrants able to use that argument to stay in the country. And thank goodness for people like Brandon, because his organization really keeps a watch out on illegal immigration, and the same with FAIR. He stressed that his organization wanted to see it go to the floor for debate and amendment in order to get rid of the bad items that were in the proposal. Judd, however, blamed Biden for weaponizing his group's backing for the bill by failing to give the proper context for the support at the time. Big surprise there. He also stressed that this is one of the reasons the public should have zero confidence in the Biden administration. And that includes a mother of a Maryland woman that was allegedly raped and murdered by an MS-13 gang member. She slammed President Biden's State of the Union address. She attended at the behest of House Speaker Mike Johnson. Johnson invited Tammy Nobles, and she's the one, her 20-year-old daughter, 20 years old, her whole life ahead of her, Kayla Hamilton. She was killed in her mobile home in 2022. And I guarantee you, people on CNN would be making fun of the fact that she lived in a mobile home. But she said that just couldn't believe Biden's State of the Union address. And he was also criticized, of course, for messing up Laken Riley's name as Lincoln Riley. But this woman Noble said she heard shouting her daughter Kayla's name from the audience, was not satisfied with the president's response. She said it seemed like it was just a pep rally, that he didn't speak on immigration. He even mispronounced Laken's name. He did not say anything about the border crisis, not to mention that he's out there on an apology tour for saying illegal immigrant, which is what they are. Oh, we can't use that. We have to say, what is it, undocumented migrant? That almost sounds like you don't exist at all. How is that nice to the illegal immigrants that are coming over? And as I said earlier, if you didn't hear, I always bring up the children that are included in this group of people that are just streaming across the border. A lot of these kids are being used, and now they're unaccounted for. And I mean, it's in the thousands. It's in the double-digit thousands. Maybe even more than that. We don't know what's happening with these children. And the people on the left, they conveniently never talk about it. Never. All they talk about are the migrants that are coming over looking for a better life. Well, by gosh, I would love to see people get a better life, but do it legally. Do it legally. I want immigrants in this country, to be quite honest with you, as long as they are not criminals, as long as they can add something to our economy and our lifestyle. And we are supposed to be the great melting pot, and we should be, but we're not melting anymore. All that's happening is that these illegal immigrants are bringing the problems of their country into ours. And that's not an answer. Nor is it humane to the illegal immigrants as well, nor is it humane to be using them like slave labor, which a lot of companies are doing. It's 7:45. It's time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. Thank you much, Jack. Looks like it's going to be beautiful today. Enjoy it. Sunny skies. High of 71. Wednesday, tomorrow, 75 for a high with sunshine. Same for Thursday, except we're getting near 80 degrees. We might even go above 80. Who knows? Then Friday, look out for strong storms moving into the area. Right now, we've warmed up a bit. 37 degrees at Nashville's Music Row at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I'm telling you, can't wait for the rest of the Super Talkers today. Chris Hand at 9, Matt Murphy at noon, and, of course, Brian Wilson on the ride home. Almost call him Williams. Wow. Brian would have a talk with me on that, and I don't blame him. I would, too. we were talking about illegal immigration. Of course, part of the problem too. A lot of people coming across the border are bringing a lot of drugs into our country, and they are bringing fentanyl. And boy, I saw a deal on Tom Petty last night, and if you like his music, boy, I could not believe the amount of fentanyl that guy was taking. My gosh. Number one, he was in a lot of pain, and I think he thought he could handle it himself, but he really should have gotten taken care of.
Man, that makes me sad.
It really did me too. I watched that, and man, I was so sad because I loved Tom Petty. Yeah. I thought he was just a great, great artist and just seemed like a great guy.
Yeah.
But man, the drugs he had in his system, it was just an overdose. And I'm telling you, fentanyl is nothing to mess with. And I'm also looking at this report. Now, I've talked to a lot of doctors about this, but I'll go into the report. They're saying that adults who use marijuana daily are 25% more likely to have a heart attack than those who don't use it. This is according to a research that was in the Journal of the American Heart Association, funded by the National Institutes of Health. The study also found a 42% increased likelihood of stroke linked to daily marijuana use. And they're based on data. This was compiled by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention from 2016 through 2020 from 435,000 roughly U.S. residents ages 18 to 74. And what they judged it on, that said 4% were daily cannabis users, 7% were non-daily, using it about 5 days a month. The study found that the risks to their cardiovascular were considerably lower, but still present for those who use cannabis less frequently. A 3% increased risk for heart attack compared with non-users, 5% for stroke. Smoking was the most common method of cannabis use, followed by vaping and eating cannabis-infused foods like gummies, things of that nature. Now, of course, seniors are embracing marijuana, which offers relief, but risk as well. They said cannabis use by adults in the United States is increasing in both prevalence and frequency and has nearly doubled in the past 2 decades, with a growing number of states legalizing its usage, but perceptions of the harmfulness of cannabis are decreasing, according to the researchers. Given that their findings link cannabis usage to cardiovascular disease, however, the researchers suggested that doctors screen patients for cannabis use and advise them not to smoke it, similar to the now traditional screening done for tobacco smoking. Now, in my talks with doctors, and I talked to one doctor that told me it was very bad for the heart. They say that cannabis use will lower your blood pressure, but then it rises again when you stop using it. And eventually, it really screws with your blood pressure. And then I've talked to other doctors, and I know some of these doctors use cannabis, and they disregard this report. They say, oh, that's not true. So really, it's up to the individual. You should know your own body. And if you are using cannabis, you should probably look after your health and make sure that it's not going to lead you to a heart attack or stroke, because I don't care what you smoke. Smoking's bad for you. All you have to do to notice that is smoke something. What happens? You cough. And that's your body telling you, this is something that may not be good for me. Might feel good, kind of like liquor, kind of like alcohol. Alcohol is a lot of fun until you start overdoing it. And then you come into all kinds of health problems. Not to mention, you affect everybody's life. But I do think that it needs to be looked at and looked at closely. But I just don't want a nanny state either. I don't want people... I don't want to... If marijuana is helping people with their pain, whatever, they should be allowed to use it. That's the way I look at it. Now, me personally, it's better I don't use it, because knowing me, I would go crazy. And maybe you guys would like me more, though. Might be a more interesting show Who knows? 7:52, and I'm kidding on that, by the way. We've got news coming up right at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock with Ken Weaver. Ken, what will be happening?
Well, we just got the latest inflation rate, and it is not what the Biden administration probably wants. Well,
imagine that.
That means it's not what America wants, definitely not what the Fed wants. We'll tell you about it coming up at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Brother Ken. Coming up in the next hour at 8 o'clock. Man, we've got a lot of stuff for you. Got a lot to cover. Of course, TikTok is, the Republicans want to ban it. We'll go into that story. We've got some sound for you on that. We're also going to play a little clip from Wild Hogs that reminds us of our buddy Dan Mandis. I'll see if you think so as well. We'll just have a little fun on this Tuesday because the news is just too depressing. You know what I'm talking about? Want to have some fun today. 7:52, you're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, tracking the potential for some strong storms later this week. Right now, money news is the lead story. Consumer prices rose 3.2% in February compared to a year ago. Inflation increasing slightly from the previous month, and that makes it harder for the Fed to cut interest rates. Metro police say they're looking for a suspect who sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy at a popular park last Thursday. Police say the boy told them he walked to Seven Oaks Park near his house, and just 15 minutes later, a man in his 50s grabbed him by the arm and dragged him into the woods and assaulted him. Metro police say the suspect left the area in a 2000s model Honda Civic sedan after noticing other people in the area. He's described as having freckles, crooked teeth, wearing all black, ball cap, black zip-up jacket, blue shorts, a gray shirt, and gray and white tennis shoes at the time of the assault. Metro Nashville police searching for a college student who vanished on a trip with friends on Lower Broad. 22-year-old Riley Strain's parents drove here from Missouri. They say he disappeared Friday night after being asked to leave Luke Bryan's bar.
They started going through all the fraternity brothers' rooms. No one had him. So at that point, they called us.
We talk every day, multiple times a day. Oh my God, this is the longest I've ever gone without talking to him.
His parents say Riley is very identifiable. He's 6 foot 7 inches tall, 155 to 160 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Metro police say they searched the area where Riley went missing, including by helicopter on Monday, but the banks there at the banks of the Cumberland River, but did not find anything. Right now at the state capitol, a bill to eliminate taxes on groceries is advancing in the General Assembly. It doesn't touch what the state taxes you for groceries, but it does get rid of taxes by cities and counties on groceries. The sponsors of the bill say corporate taxes would replace whatever revenue is lost. This bill is up for debate today in the Senate Finance, Ways and Means Revenue Subcommittee. And later today in our nation's capital, the special counsel on President Biden's handling of classified documents will testify. A transcript of Biden's interview contradicts the president's characterization of an exchange about the death of his son, Beau Biden, from brain cancer. Here's White House correspondent Karen Travers.
An ABC News review of the transcript indicates President Biden does struggle at one point to remember the year his son Beau died, but does remember the month and day. The exchange contradicts the president's forceful assertion that the special counsel was the first to bring up his son. The president showed anger about this when it was actually the president who first mentioned him. The incident is cited by Robert Hur, who characterized the president in his report as a, quote, sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, a description the president and his legal team sharply criticized.
Market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Right now, Dow futures up 119 points, S&P up 33, NASDAQ up 151. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Happy Tuesday. It is 8:06. Good morning. It is Nashville's Morning News. Our brother Dan Mandis is on he's on a big cruise. It's not a Disney cruise, has been rumored. He's just on a cruise. We don't know where. I don't think he did either. But he'll be back on Monday with a lot to tell. I'm telling you, it sounded like an adventure just getting to this cruise. You got Johnny B in his place. And, of course, I've got Kim Weaver along with Mason Fleming. Mason had a little trouble this morning trying to get in, but he got here. He didn't let a car not starting stop him.
We're here. We're kicking. We're good.
Yes, we are. And earlier, when Mason was late coming in, I was doing both producing and hosting, and it was quite interesting. But we brought up something that I'll have to go into this because this is lighthearted. I know we'll get to the serious stuff in a minute. But my wife and I this happens every now and then, we'll be eating in front of the television like a lot of you do. And sometimes we'll put on a movie we've seen before. And there was one we saw together. I never saw the movie until I met her. And I fell in love with it. It's not a movie that's going to be one of the greatest pictures you'll ever see, but it's a fun buddy movie. It's called Wild Hogs. It came out in 2007. And it stars John Travolta, Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and William H. Macy. William Macy's character, as I was watching this again with my wife, Glenna, I started laughing. In fact, I was on the floor at one point holding my stomach because I said, that is Dan Mandis. Now, we miss Dan Mandis. We miss Dan anytime he's gone because this dude is fun to work with. He's a great host, and I would add a great program director. He's done a great job with WTN. But watching this movie, I thought, man, we could make a Wild Hogs movie with the talk show host because John Travolta's character kind of reminds me a little bit of Matt Murphy. I don't know who would play Martin Lawrence's character, maybe Kenny Smoove. And I don't know who would play Tim Allen's character. Maybe Kim Weaver. Kim Weaver could play Tim Allen's character. But anyway, let me set this up for you because this is the scene that really reminded me of Dan. Now, the guys are hiding from a real bike gang because these guys are they're the typical guys you see. They're dentists. They work regular jobs during the week, but on the weekend, they want to be bikers, man. They want to get on the Harley, ride around, and they even got their own jackets that one of their wives made for them, made them some colors called Wild Hogs. Well, they run into a bike gang that doesn't take kindly to weekend bikers. These guys are the real deal. They have, the long beards. They like to fight. They've got tattoos covering their body, and they're real bikers. They even smell like bikers. You can tell by one of the cast members, and Marissa Tomei is one of the cast members. So what happens? These guys go into a small town. They're hiding out from these bikers, okay? And there's a chili cook-off that's happening, and they're talked into staying because they need gasoline. It's too hard. I'm going into too much detail. But anyway, there's a big chili cook-off. Well, William H. Macy's character, whose name is Dudley, he sees Marissa Tomei, and he's quite taken with her, understandably. If you've ever seen Marissa Tomei, My Cousin Vinny being one great movie that she was in, well, she's pretty in this movie too. So anyway, there's a big chili cook-off, and, Dudley, William Macy's character, decides to try some of her chili. And this is how it went.
So,
Excuse me?
never mind.
So you like chili?
Oh, yeah. Not the hot stuff. But you put a nice mild turkey chili in front of me, oh, yeah. I'm gonna eat it.
That's too bad because I wanted you to try mine, but it's pretty hot.
No, I'll try it. I like your kind of hot. In your chili. The chili hot. Food hot.
Damn it!
You sure you can handle it?
Handle it? I'm a biker. Smooth. Ooh. Spice.
Gets a little hotter as it sits in your throat there. You okay? I understand.
Mother of God, I swallowed hot lava!
Mother of God. So tell me that's not our buddy Dan Mandis.
I would love to hear Dan go. I can handle it. I'm a biker.
I don't know why, but that character, I noticed Ken's very quiet, but I noticed that character really reminded me of Dan, and God love him. But that especially when he goes, well, I like your kind of hot. I mean, food, you know.
The chili.
So I thought we needed a little laugh today because there's not much to laugh at in the news. So anyway, that movie's called Wild Hogs, and if you ever want a small laugh, it's worth checking out. So definitely do so. It's worth watching just for that. But anyway, looks like we've got another Trump lawsuit happening. E. Jean Carroll's lawyer is considering another defamation suit against Trump. According to her lawyer, President Trump is suggesting that he may launch another suit against the former president, against Donald Trump. According to a report from the New York Times, Roberta A. Kaplan, the lawyer for Carroll, is considering the idea again. Said the statute of limitations for defamation in most jurisdictions is between 1 and 3 years, according to the lawyer. As we said after the last jury verdict, we continue to monitor every statement that Donald Trump makes about our client. The statement from Kaplan was in response to a comment made by Trump in an interview on CNBC on Monday morning when he said Carroll had made a false accusation against him. The former president added that he would win on the appeal. He said, I have no idea who she is, except for one thing. I got sued. From that point on, he said, wow, that's crazy. That's what this is. I got charged. I was given a false accusation. I had to post a $91 million bond on a false accusation. Before the suggestion of another lawsuit, Trump put up over $90 million, of course, on bond in order to appeal the previous defamation. So now they're talking about doing another one. I will just say this. When it comes to Stormy Daniels or E. Jean Carroll, I tend to believe Trump on those two women for different reasons. They don't look like the kind of women that Donald Trump would go after. Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump is a germaphobe. There's no way that I think he would want anything to do with Stormy Daniels being a porn star. I don't think he would even go near her as far as that goes. As far as E. Jean Carroll, doesn't look like the kind of woman that Trump would be attracted to. You've seen the women that Trump's attracted to. They are gorgeous. They are gorgeous. Now, there was a Playboy Playmate. Now, when she said something, I could believe her because she had a very wholesome look. I know she posed nude, but she had a very wholesome look about her and looked like the type of woman that Trump would go after. Not saying he did, but that one I would believe more than E. Jean Carroll or Stormy Daniels. So we'll just have to see what happens with these crazy cases. It's 8:15. Time to check the roads from the WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. It looks like it's going to be beautiful today. Enjoy it. Sunny with a high of 71. Tomorrow, 75. It will be near 80. Thursday, we will have some strong storms to contend with on Friday. Right now, though, we've warmed right up to 39 degrees. Sunny skies. It is a beautiful morning on Nashville's Music Row at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Nashville's Morning News with Johnny B. sitting in for Dan Mandis, Mason Fleming, and, of course, Ken Weaver here on the news. And the FCC, the commissioner, Brendan Carr, is talking about the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act, which would remove TikTok from app stores in the U.S. by September 30th unless its parent company, ByteDance, which reportedly has ties to the communist Chinese, sold its stake. It would also prohibit an entity to distribute, maintain, or update an application controlled by a foreign adversary within the U.S. Now, this is what FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr said to Newsmax on Monday about the importance of the House passing this legislation that would ban TikTok.
People don't realize it, but TikTok hoovers up a tremendous amount of sensitive data. It's not just the dance videos that are out there. It's everything from your search and browsing history, keystroke patterns, location information, biometrics, including face prints and voice prints. And for years, TikTok told U.S. lawmakers, don't worry, we're going to wall it off from China. But then a blockbuster story came out in 2022 that got leaked internal materials that showed that, quote, everything is seen in China. And what's China doing with that? They're surveilling the locations of specific Americans. They're engaging in foreign influence operations to interfere with our elections. So this would be a really big win this week for Speaker Johnson and for conservatives.
Yeah, so that's what he's saying is that, the Chinese, the communist Chinese are looking at this. I don't know why they would want to see, Americans dancing or doing stupid things like eating Tide Pods, but maybe that's giving them fuel to the fire of, well, look how stupid Americans are. We can talk them into anything. But he also had this to add, Brendan Carr did, about banning TikTok and why we should do it.
Yeah, we've been very concerned about foreign influence and espionage and data flows. And what's smart about this bill is it's very targeted. It doesn't give the government authority to go after any application it wants. It doesn't give them any authority to go after individual users. It's only about TikTok and any other application that's beholden to the CCP, Iran, Russia, or North Korea. And only then if it's a demonstrated national security risk. So it's a rifle shot approach to deal with a demonstrated threat that we've seen bipartisan. Look, President Trump was out front on this in 2020, calling out TikTok for the security threat. Now, like most things, most people are coming his way on this issue and now agree in a bipartisan way that this is a problem.
And he explains it. So anyway, he said the bipartisan bill passed the House Committee on Energy and Commerce by a 50-0 vote. And a vote on the House floor is expected this week on TikTok. And they say that China is surveilling the locations of specific Americans, engaging in foreign influence operations, as he said, to interfere with our elections. This would be a really big win this week for Speaker Mike Johnson and for conservatives to pass the bill out of the House. Carr also recently wrote an op-ed for Newsmax that TikTok's threat requires that it break ties with the Chinese Communist government. I've always been leery of TikTok. Not that I don't know why the Chinese would want to, check me out, but I've never wanted to join TikTok. I've always found it kind of I'm not a big fan of social media anyway. I like some of it for keeping up with listeners. I like that. I like that aspect of it. Keeping up with family, keeping up with friends. I mean, it's been fun to reconnect with some friends that I haven't talked to in years. That part of it's fine, and especially communicating with listeners of the station because listeners are really friends. I mean, that's the way we look at you, and we're in this together. So it's nice to keep that dialogue going. But other than that, social media has no interest in me at all. I mean, I really don't want to take pictures of my food. I eat some good food, let me tell you. My wife makes great food, but I'm not going to sit and take pictures of it. I'm going to eat it and enjoy it privately. But, anything to do with the Chinese, I would say that we need to quit dealing with the Chinese. The communist Chinese, you're talking about a brutal, brutal regime. What they do to their people is unbelievable. You talk about slave labor, they've got it. But we trade with them, and everything we have is made in China, and that needs to stop. It really does. I mean, I'd be willing, even in this economy, I would be willing to pay a little more if you would get it made in the USA. We've got to get manufacturing back to this country. It is one thing that is really hurting the United States. And you'd see more job opportunities as well for a lot more people. I would love to see that happen, and we need to make that happen. And Donald Trump that's the whole thing. When he was in office, that's one of the things he did positive. He was bringing manufacturing back to the United States where it needs to be. And that's why more people were getting hired, and we're getting jobs. And we need to get that back right away. It's 8:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Nashville's Morning News coming up with the news at 8:30 with Ken Weaver.
Got the latest rate of inflation, and it makes it less likely there will be an interest rate cut before summer. A lot going on in our nation's capital today. The special counsel who investigated President Biden's classified documents case will testify. And it looks like the CEO of TikTok is walking around our nation's capital this morning looking for senators to meet with before a possible ban.
Wow.
Details at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, sir. It's 8:22. It's Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis, he'll be back on Monday morning. We're looking forward to that. And as 2407, that, of course, is our members nutrition super text line at 615-737-9986. 2407 has it right. Democrats want what China has. Boy, is that not the truth. It's Nashville's morning news, and we have the gang of Four Amigos coming up at 8:35 with Chris Hand. Keep it where you've got it. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Money News, the latest report on inflation from the government shows the annual rate was slightly higher than expected in February. That keeps the likelihood we won't see an interest rate cut until summer. Later today in our nation's capital, the special counsel who investigated President Biden's classified documents case will be on Capitol Hill testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. Robert Hur has been accused by Democrats of inserting an unnecessary opinion about the president's memory and mental acuity. Elsewhere in D.C., Rachel Scott's covering a possible ban on TikTok.
We are learning that the CEO of TikTok is also here in Washington today, trying to set up meetings with senators here on Capitol Hill who appear much more on the fence than many of the lawmakers over in the House. But the president says he would sign this bill if it's passed.
Right now in Nashville, the search is on for a suspect who sexually assaulted a teenager in a popular park. Channel 4 went to that park, Seven Oaks, and says people are on edge.
Shocked, completely shocked, because this park gets a lot of people who play here. Even at that time of night.
Metro Police looking for a white man said to be in his 50s with freckles and crooked teeth. He was last seen driving away in a gray 2000s Honda Civic sedan. Market Numbers report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. This morning, trading just now getting underway after futures indicated a higher open right after that inflation report from the federal government showing that it ticked up a little bit higher than expected year over year, 3.2% in February. Right now, the Dow is up 46 points. S&P is down 5. The NASDAQ is down 65. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Oh, that music means one thing. It's 8:37 for 1. It's Nashville's Morning News for 2. And for 3, make it 4. It is time for the gang of 4 amigos. Sitting right next to me, the great Chris Hand. How you doing, brother?
Good morning. What's up, guys?
And, of course, the newsroom, my brother, Kim Weaver.
Good morning, boys. Yes.
And, ladies and gentlemen, the late Mason Fleming. How you doing, Mason?
I'm here. We're here and we're working. We're kicking.
Yes, you are. And may I say, this young man, even though he had car trouble this morning, he made it here.
Yes, sir.
He got here.
We're trying.
Yeah, he tried.
You're never going to let that down, are you?
I don't think they're ever going to let me get out of that.
Well, it was an interesting morning. You missed it, Chris, because it was like 4:30 this morning, but then it got to be it was getting close to 5 a.m. And Ken Weaver and I were looking at each other through the glass going, what's up?
Yeah.
So I walked into the studio and began producing as well as hosting. That was interesting.
You were multitasking.
I was multitasking.
Whew.
And I greatly appreciate you for that, Johnny.
Well, I greatly appreciate the fact that you came in, because some people would have, car won't start, man. Can't make it in.
Sorry, it's not working.
I've heard that.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Car won't start. My stomach hurts.
Yeah, my stomach
I have a
hurts.
tummy ache.
Stomach's hurting me.
Or the Chiefs won. Something like that. Everybody
You just celebrated an extra day.
Man, I can't make it in.
No, I think that's funny. And we're lucky that Johnny knows what he's doing back there.
Yeah.
So when I did mornings in Pittsburgh on a music station, I was the guy running the board. And one time I overslept. And when I finally answered the phone, it was like, 5 or 6. We're about to go on the air. And the guys that were on the show with me had no idea what to do. So as I'm getting ready and flying through my home to go to the radio station, I'm talking them through how to get on the air.
Yeah.
That had to
over
be
the
fun.
phone.
Oh, wow.
That was chaos.
Yeah, I bet. That was... We talked earlier, and I was like, I don't think Matt Murphy would know how to do that if I were calling in for his show.
No.
Luckily, if Mac's here, he's able to cover for a little bit. But
Yeah.
I was like, I think Dan might know which button is his mic.
Oh, he'd freak out.
Yeah.
No. Dan would freak out to begin with. Then he would figure it out. What am I going to do? Earlier we played, I'll probably lose my job come Monday when Dan comes back. But, I was watching Wild Hogs, the movie,
Yeah.
and we were talking about that. And we played the clip. I mean, when I was watching the movie, it was hitting me. He reminds me of Dan a little bit. Not totally, but especially the scene where he's getting the chili.
Okay.
That was the best part. I don't know if I should play it again, but...
Why not?
Oh, well, why not? Let's find it. So anyway, Phil, while I do this, if somebody could. Let's see. Oh, everybody, it's right here. It's right here. Make sure we don't have...
There's going to be a commercial
yeah,
on
there'll
that.
be there is. Let's hang on.
The thing that bugs me the most about YouTube is when you go to pull up a funny commercial for someone and you have to watch a commercial before you watch the commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that double ads that just slap you right in the face.
Yep.
Well, this is a scene. It's from Wild Hogs, and of course, it's got Marissa Tomei, who is a very attractive actress. Marissa Tomei, fan?
I'm a fan of Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, I like her. And of course, William H. Macy, and he's playing a weekend biker on this. Now, those that know Dan Mandis, I want you to listen to this because just listen. This reminds me of Dan, probably when he met Amy. This may have been how it went.
So,
Excuse me?
never mind.
So you like chili?
Oh, yeah. Not the hot stuff. But you put a nice mild turkey chili in front of me? Oh, yeah. I'm going to eat it.
Well, that's too bad because I wanted you to try mine, but it's pretty hot.
No, I'll try it. I like your kind of hot. In your chili. The chili hot. Food hot.
Okay, you sure you can handle it?
Handle it. I'm a biker.
I'm a biker.
Smooth. Ooh. Spice.
It's a little hotter as it sits in your throat there. You okay? I understand.
Mother of God, I swallowed hot lava!
Oh, I like a smooth turkey chili.
I like a smooth turkey.
Or
Joe.
mild turkey chili.
I like your kind of hot. You're kind of food hot.
Yeah.
But what they left out was her. She had the greatest line. She said, "It doesn't really make your throat bleed." It feels like it. So our buddy did make it to the. I see that he made it to the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, we had a picture of the ship.
Okay, good.
Wasn't he on a floaty or something?
Yeah, it
brother?
looks like he had a floaty around his waist.
I don't get any pictures from the cruise. You guys are getting pictures?
No, it's on his Facebook page.
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
I don't do Facebook.
Are we sure it was his boat? He might just be pretending.
Yeah, it could be.
It's like, I think I made it. This is a boat.
Well, this is from Amy though, so I trust her.
Oh,
She put on there that it's not a Disney cruise, Murphy. So I guess they made it to the boat okay, and they're probably on the ship now on the floating, what do we call it, the penitentiary?
Yeah, the floating prison.
Yes,
Petri dish. Petri dish for norovirus.
I don't know what it is, but I don't ever want to go on a cruise. I have cousins in Alabama that always are, y'all want to go on a cruise with us? No. I don't. I mean, I love my family, but to be with my family on a cruise for a week, it wouldn't work.
So right when COVID got kicked off, my wife was working with one of her coworkers. Her mom was going on a cruise. She's like, "Oh, she's just getting out of here." And I remember saying to her, "Why is she doing that? They're not going to let her back on shore." Sure enough, she was trapped on that cruise ship for like 3 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Because of the COVID stuff.
Goodness.
Oh, my God. Oh, I cannot imagine.
What? So did things stop working?
Oh,
Plumbing and that sort of thing?
It's been so long now. I know that everything kind of broke down.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I cannot imagine. I mean, just being on a cruise ship is enough for me to warrant me not to be there. I mean, I don't want to spend my vacation with a bunch of strangers I don't know.
Elbow to elbow, brother Johnny B.
No.
Oh, man.
No.
That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah, it'd be
Especially
fun.
when they're drunk.
Same buffet, 3 meals a day.
Oh, and then they find out you work in talk radio, and then the talk gets to politics, and they're drunk.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
especially
fun.
when they're drunk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can just imagine.
I'll tell you what, if I was El Presidente.
I'll tell you what I'd do.
Sir, I'm just trying to go down the water slide. I don't need to talk about this right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to go down the water slide. I'm full of Jack Daniels. I just want to have fun.
Oh.
But yeah, in fact, there was a country music artist that I talked to, and he said it was very interesting because things did get political. They said that one artist got on stage and started blasting Obama because it was during Obama's presidency.
No.
Said the audience got up and walked out.
Really?
And then the next night, a more conservative country artist came on and started blasting Obama and talking about how great Trump was, and crowd left. There's just sometimes when politics, you just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but there's never a wrong time to blast Obama.
No, I wouldn't say so. And especially Biden.
Yeah.
I think everybody should blast Biden.
Yep.
Because he's so easy.
Yes.
It's so easy. Also, I want to, Ken Weaver, how about you, Chris? AC/DC fan?
I'm okay.
You like them
they're
all
pretty
right?
good. They're pretty good. People like them.
They're pretty good. They're rated PG for pretty good, Ken.
Brother Chris. People like him.
Yeah, people like
Brother Chris.
People like the 3 chords. They dig it. But anyway.
Are you a fan of AC/DC?
I am. I'm a huge, and me and Ken both.
That's from our time.
We're both.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's from our time. I mean, they were the kind of band, I couldn't believe there was a band that hard, that rocking. It was like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for.
Didn't one of the guys always wear those little shorts?
Yeah, Angus Young, yes.
Yeah,
little bitty 5'2".
I think that threw me off.
That kind of.
That was his finger to the school system.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And they had a great front man in Bon Scott, who had the whiskey voice. Yeah. I'm on the highway. Anyway, there's a biopic that's on the late singer that's currently in the works. And it's an Australian production company, Halo Films and Protocol Pictures. They're both teaming up for this. And they have the actor for it. Ken, have you heard this gentleman's name?
No. Who?
Lee Tiger Halley.
Lee Tiger Halley.
I haven't seen any of his movies yet.
Okay.
But he's been cast as the rock icon. And the movie's titled the kid from Harvest Road.
I hate to say it. I'm already leaning towards not a fan of the movie.
Just from the name.
No, well, you said it's an Australian film company, and I am definitely not a fan of Australia. Talk about
now. What's wrong with Australia?
Floating prisons? Are you kidding me? They have spiders the size of dogs.
They do.
And they get in your mouth.
Thousands of ways to die in Australia.
I follow some people from Australia on Instagram, and they have pet spiders that they just let roam around their house. These spiders are as big as plates.
Good Lord.
And they have names for them, like Clark.
Clark?
And just every now and then, oh, look at that. That's Clark. That's Clark. Hey, Clark.
That's not a name for a spider.
That is for this spider.
Come on, I'd have a more dangerous name of some kind.
Well, I mean, these people, they just reach up and they'll just grab the spider, let it crawl around on them. And Australia is a different place, man.
It is a different place. It was originally a prison.
Yes. That's where Great Britain was sent on the prison.
That explains a lot. That explains AC/DC, actually.
Oh.
It was interesting because when Deep Purple toured Australia, they said that Ian Gillan, the singer, had a real phobia about it. He said, the spiders they get in your mouth. He said, when you sleep. And they said that, and Ian Gillan was a nudist. He liked to run around nude.
Oh, no.
And apparently he thought a spider got in his mouth, and he started running around the hotel naked, screaming, there's a spider in my mouth.
It's not a place where you want to sleep,
Spider
dude.
in me mouth. Oh, my gosh.
And we also have other AC/DC news. Apparently, Ken, you were right and wrong about they have a bass player, but it's not who you said it was.
Yeah,
which was
it's not Duff McKagan.
It's not Duff. I'm trying to find it as I'm sitting here. I didn't have it ready. I'm so sorry. But anyway, Duff McKagan is not going to be the. Here we go.
Matt Law or something like that?
Yeah, Matt Logg is the drummer. He is heard with Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, which is a good band, by the way. Mike Campbell, of course, was Tom Petty's guitar player. But former Jane's Addiction bassist Chris Chaney is going to be the bass player.
Okay.
So you have one original member in the band now, Angus Young. That's it.
That's it.
You have Brian Johnson, who's been with the band a long time, but of course he was not the original lead singer. So.
Yeah. Now, another one of Angus's brothers, I think Stevie Young.
Yes, he's playing rhythm guitar.
He's playing rhythm guitar. So, but yeah, Angus is the last surviving. Well, not the last surviving, but he is the only original member.
Yeah, that's correct. Because Cliff Williams and we're, anybody that's not a fan of AC/DC like Chris are going, could they please get along with something else? But anyway,
no. I think it's fascinating.
Brother Chris, he wasn't disparaging him.
Oh, no, he wasn't. He said,
people like him.
People like him. What about Van Halen? You are a fan?
I don't even know any of their songs.
That's good.
At least you're honest, keeping you.
Yes, he is honest. That's what I love about Chris.
If they keep replacing members, at what point are they not AC/DC anymore?
Well, if Angus goes,
it's like the ship of Theseus.
Well, you need to ask Leonard Skinner because there's not an original member left in Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, they're all
dead.
Yeah, the founding members anyway.
The founding members are gone.
Yeah.
So does that mean it's a cover/tribute band now, or is it a?
Well,
that's a good question.
And I used to damn bands for this because I would think, once the dude dies, it's time to hang it up. But nowadays, with they can't make any money off recordings anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they really don't. So they have to tour.
Got to tour.
So I don't blame these bands for staying on the road and becoming a tribute band, basically.
Yeah.
I saw Skinner back in 1999. I saw him in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they still had Billy Powell. And Johnny Van Zant, sings for his brother. And I mean, Johnny does a great job.
He does do a good job.
Yeah, but
seems like a likable guy too.
Right. But they still had Gary Rossington.
Oh yeah.
And it was really cool seeing some of those original members, man. But now they've all passed.
Well, and what was really cool, one time it was around the other radio station that's our They call it a competitor, but I call it the station of noise, the static station. But anyway, I was working over there, and we were going to lunch, and there's a studio right next door. And coming out of the studio was none other than Gary Rossington.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to say something, but I couldn't because I was in a car full of people, and
yeah.
I had to look cool and not
look
go
cool
all
about
fan,
Johnny B.
not go all Gurmy fan on them. So
Hey, you remember that song "Freebird"?
Yeah.
Man,
I really like
that song's good.
And then I kneel. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
On the members nutrition text line 2824, did Chris Hand just say he didn't know any Van Halen songs? If so, he's dead to me.
Oh my goodness, man, tough crowd.
And then 6627 says Chris only knows songs people can do curling to, evidently.
That's why I love the super text line, man. There are some funny. A lot of you folks are funny.
I was going to say, I didn't know David Lee Roth listened to us.
Yeah, mean stuff goes to the front of the line.
Oh, man, Ken, that's the line of the day.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got coming up on the show? Because that's going to be far more interesting than anything I can talk
Well,
about.
I am back and forth on a TikTok ban.
Are you?
I don't know if I'm for it or against it, and we'll discuss why.
Okay.
And then we got Biden meeting with a very large crowd in New Hampshire. There was about 15, maybe 20 people, and I have the audio from that.
You thought it was a family reunion.
Exactly.
Where's Howard?
And Haiti is in chaos.
Yes.
Turns out once again, Trump was right. It is an S-hole.
Yeah. It is. And you know what's scary, too, and I know we're running late, but, hey, Dan does it all the time, so why come on. But
we're keeping it authentic.
Yes, we are. Keeping it
real.
That's keeping it real, people.
Yes, sir.
But no, they're saying that, man, to go over these Caribbean countries anymore is even the Bahamas.
Yeah.
They say at the resorts where you used to be safe, they say it's not safe anymore.
Better be careful.
No, there's too many gangs that are getting in. And
Did you hear the name of the guy that's in charge in Haiti now?
What is it?
Barbecue.
Yeah, he's a gang leader.
Yeah.
He's the leader.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
Haiti is being led by a gang leader. A street gang.
Well, I tell you what, if the USA does not vote another way in November, I think that could happen here.
Oh, I'm sure many of them are already on their way.
Oh, they're probably here.
That's true.
The U.S. has a plan, too, and I don't want to spoil anything for the show, but they're going to send money.
Oh,
of course.
Of course. Well, we better get out of here or Mason's going to have it, and I got to have him tomorrow morning, okay?
If I can get there, we'll see what happens.
Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. You got Chris Hand up next, Murphy at noon, and Brian Wilson at 3 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
9 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, consumer prices, they went up 3.2% in February compared to a year ago. It's the second time this year inflation's higher than expected. We get more from Elizabeth Schulze.
This new report gives us a glimpse of the cost of everything from groceries to rent to gas. It shows that while overall inflation has improved, prices are still stubbornly high. And while on average, American salaries are also going up, these higher day-to-day costs are one reason why Americans are dipping into their savings.
Yeah, 3.2% year over year makes it more likely we will not see another interest rate cut until summer at the earliest. Later today in our nation's capital, the special counsel who investigated President Biden's classified documents case will be on Capitol Hill testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. Robert Hur has been accused by Democrats of inserting an unnecessary opinion about the president's memory and mental acuity. Elsewhere in D.C., Rachel Scott covering a possible ban on TikTok.
We are learning that the CEO of TikTok is also here in Washington today, trying to set up meetings with senators here on Capitol Hill who appear much more on the fence than many of the lawmakers over in the House. But the president says he would sign this bill if it's passed.
Here in Nashville, Metro Police actively searching for a college student who vanished on a trip with friends on Broadway. 22-year-old Riley Strain's parents drove here from Missouri after he disappeared Friday night after being asked to leave Luke Bryan's bar.
They started going through all the fraternity brothers' rooms. No one had him. So at that point, they called us.
We talk every day, multiple times a day. And this is the longest I've ever gone without talking to him.
They say Riley's very identifiable, 6'7" tall. He's 155 to 160 pounds with blonde hair and blue eyes. Metro Police say they searched the area where Riley went missing, including by helicopter along the banks of the Cumberland River yesterday. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.